And the recording is progress, and I'm letting everyone else in. I'm gonna check for CDE, and you take it away, okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Marshall. We're going to get started, folks. Today is July 19th. This is the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A. My name is Alex Manriquez. I'm a data analyst at CSIS supporting CalPADS, and driving for us today is Gary Ferber. In terms of announcements, it's really the same ones we've been saying every week here. As you know, the 22-23 end of year deadline, the initial deadline is July 28th. That's just next week. That's next Friday, folks. So please make sure that you are down to 0 errors by the end of this week, ideally. And if you have issues, you're stuck with anything, please let us know. Send in a services ticket. We don't want to be stuck on Friday working the weekend trying to get you down to 0 errors. There are no plans to get extensions for this initial deadline, right? So July 28th. And the amendment window starts July 29th and it goes up until August 25th. And along with that is when the cohort data is going to be pulled. Hello? I thought someone else was going to say something. So August 25th, end of the final deadline for end of year, and also when cohort data is going to be pulled. And as a reminder, end of year 3 and end of year 4 require SELPA approval. Moving on, there was a flash that was sent out last Friday, flash 256, and it talks about the new language code sets, which we had talked about in previous quarterly meetings. Along with that, I believe it was yesterday, an email was sent from CalPADS to the CalPADS listserv that explained that there was a new version of the code set that was posted on the CDE's box site. And the new code set basically is updated with the latest and greatest. So please review both the flash 256 and the email that was sent out on the listserv yesterday. Martha, Angela, or if there's anybody from CDE that has any other announcements?
Just my usual, that the known issues, active and fixed known issue document is up to date with all the fixes that went in yesterday.
Awesome. Okay, if there's nothing else, we're going to get started. And we're going to start with Suanne. Well, I feel like we haven't heard from Suanne in a little bit. I guess I missed
from the
her.
past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Q1 says, when will CalPADS be updated with the language, TK, SPED, and context changes for the 23-24 year? Is there a date when all changes will be implemented, or will they be introduced over time? So that's going to be the year rollover in September. I don't know if we have a set date in September for that.
We do not.
Mid-September is what the flash said. But TK's in there now.
Yeah, so Flash 255 talked about some of the things that happen in the rollover and then what's active now. So you may want to refer back to Flash 255.
Moving on to Laura, Q1. If a 12th grader completes requirements during the summer, July 15th, can we exit them August 17th, 22 to July 15, 2023 with grad info? Or do we exit them at the end of the year, June 7th, and do one-day enrollment on 7/15 as a grad? So you would exit as of the last day of school in June, and then you would do a one-day enrollment on July 15th. And the reason for that is because CalPADS is wanting you to exit all your students for the academic year. And technically, July 15 crosses over to the next academic year. And so you would get that error. I forget what cert error it is, but it'll trigger for you that the student didn't exit for the 22-23. So one-day enrollment. Sue-Ann says, drive, Gary, drive.
I'll try.
I'll do question 2. We'll circle back. 302. Richard Adams, Q1. Unable to obtain end-of-year supporting reports as they continue to time out. What can we do to get these? guess it depends which ones, because we do have the extract supporting reports, right?
Yeah, Gary, could you navigate to the extract screen? We have the supporting report extracts. So guessing it's probably a course one, right? Those tend to be rather large. So we do have at least one of those. So just like any other ODS request, Richard, you can just come here and then come back in a few minutes and refresh the page, and you can download it. And if it's not on that list, maybe let me know, because I think I have an ongoing agreement with our requirement staff that I can add new requests to that list if I need to. What were we going to say, Martha?
I thought you had some already that they're working on.
I do. You're right.
I'll just didn't.
Yeah, I'll look it up and come back to me.
And then Richard did say like a report 3.10 or 3.11. So 3.11 is for sure there, but 3.10 is not.
And we don't typically have aggregate reports as 3.10 in aggregate. We usually make these for the student lists.
Yeah. A tip that may work though for the aggregates is if you unfortunately have to run the report multiple times, but you can do it by chunks of schools or grade levels. And that usually helps render the reports. Melissa, Q1. Our SIS has a document about the updated CDE guidelines for the dwelling types. I downloaded the code set for CalPADS and they don't match the CDE document. Do you know anything about this, or does it matter what description we used for each dwelling type? I didn't know we were changing.
I think we need more information to respond. So if you can send in a ticket, we can get to the bottom of it.
Is that her link, Gary, what you're showing?
Yeah, that's the link she put in.
Okay. Yeah, and also if you could please submit this as a ticket and we can double check if we need to do anything on our end. Danielle from San Diego Union, Q1. I have 7 CERT 132 warnings for students exited from SPED in their prior districts that have not been resolved, and the CERT 132 warnings are show fixed on July 5th. What is the status of this warning validation against prior years triggering incorrectly?
It may appear incorrect. One thing to double check is the exit on the triennial, because if it's on the triennial, that's why the CERT 132 is triggering. Because all of the ones that I've seen, they are legit, except for if the exit's on the tri, and it should be on the most recent plan. So you can send in a ticket if you need more help with that, Danielle.
Cami from Hesperia Q1 says, I have a student that has a court order for legal name and gender change. Does this just need a new demographic info record for the student with the updated information? Yes. New demographic info will supersede whatever else was in there. I don't believe we're asking people to go backwards, right?
You are correct, Alex.
Okay. Jerry, Q1 says, hi, Alex. Hi, Jerry. I was curious, when is the date for when the CDE will pull data from ODS for the grads completers to capture summer grads up to August 15th? In the past, the ODS pull was the same day as the end of year deadline, which is August 25th. Just wanted to confirm that would be the case this year. Thanks. Yes, Jerry, that's still correct. The cohort data is pulled the same day as end of year deadline. So both are being pulled August 25th. Chantel, Pacific Charter, Q1. This is my first year. What would cause us to use the amendment window? If we certify by July 28th, what would cause us to need to decertify and then recertify? Well, Chantel, welcome to the CalPADS world. There's different scenarios, but a common one is sometimes when you're reviewing the reports, you realize, oh, hey, actually, we forgot, I don't know, this chunk of RFEPs, or RFEPs were done during the summer, and now you need to account for them. There are grads that happen over the summer, and so now you need to update the student's graduation status. So things like that, where you need to, or you realize that you need to account for something that you didn't when you first certified your reports. And maybe you have nothing, and so therefore you don't need to decertify, right? It just depends on your scenario.
And I would add, Chantel, that would be very impressive for your first year to be able to claim that you were certified by that first deadline, because that's a big deal for EOI.
Susan, Q1. Certified everything, and then noticed a few dropouts that needed to be fixed on the 15.1, 15.2, and 122 reports. Do I need to decertify and recertify before the end of year deadline now that I've made these fixes? Yeah, well, this is another example, Chantel, right? So I would say that if it's impacting your 1.22 reports for this year, then yes, you may want to decertify and recertify with the correct counts. Sometimes 15.1 and 15.2 fixes are for students that were dropouts 2 years ago, right? And so those wouldn't impact your end of year reports this year. Derek from Cajon Valley, Q1. Is there a plan to provide a student level stability rate indicator to CalPADS end of year reports?
I think this is the second time somebody asked us that. And at this time, there are no plans, but that doesn't mean in a month or so that, things change. So stay tuned to the quarterly meetings, because that's where they would probably announce something like that.
Okay. Susan, I see your Q2, so we'll circle back. Susan's talking to Susan. Jerry, Q2 at VO8. We'll circle back. Cindy, Q1. I uploaded the PSTS file, but the data isn't on 17.3, 17.4. I have a ticket open regarding this, but I haven't received a response. Is there a status on this fix? I saw a ticket about this today, but I asked for some SSID examples. I haven't gotten a chance to dig into that.
We don't have any defects on this, on 17.3 or 17.4?
I don't think so.
None listed here.
Okay.
So maybe, oh.
I was going to say it could be just the timing of it, right? It takes us a revision. It might take a while for the revision to run to include your results.
Yes, very true. Since you have a ticket open, we'll look into it. And if you didn't include an SSID or 2 examples on there, super helpful, because then we can look into the student records and try to figure out if there's something else happening or for why the report isn't pulling those students in. Cedric, Q1. Will the foster file issue be fixed by August 1st when the data will be purged? Was that fixed already?
That went in yesterday.
And the fix being?
2 fixes. We got that both academic years are available now, 22-23 and 23-24. And E155 exits, 5.9 were excluded, but they are now included.
So Cedric, you just have to be conscious of the year that you're looking at. When you didn't have to do that, we only used to have 1 year only, but now you have access to both years.
Mike, Q1. Do we need SELPA approval by July 28th deadline or just LEA approval?
I'll take it, Alex, because I know you get tired of this. We would prefer SELPA approval. It's strongly encouraged. That being said, the worst that's going to happen is a letter will go out to say that you weren't SELPA approved, but you have till the end of August to do that. So if you want to look really great, it's best to have the SELPA approval. But there's not going to be anything drastic that happens. You won't lose money. Accountability is still going to get your data at the end of August. But we're just trying to encourage everybody to start planning for shorter timelines on EOI, and SELPA approval is one of those things. So that's why it's strongly encouraged.
Okay. Next, we have Jay Hauregi. One says, I'm new to all things CALPADS. What does this CDE mean? Am I supposed to upload something?
I think you're going to need a ticket. And we need to know your LEA, get you going in the right direction. I don't know how to answer that question. What does this CDE, maybe you mean, what does CALPADS mean? Because CDE is the California Department of Education, and they are the owners of the CALPADS software. And they use it to collect data to do state reporting and federal reporting. And it's required by all LEAs to do state reporting via CALPADS.
So, Jay Hauregi, if you haven't yet, if you could please submit a ticket with your LEA so that we know that we have your information updated in our system. And then your CSIS monitor can make sure that you're on track for end of year.
And Gary, can you navigate to CalPads and show them how to log a ticket from inside of the help menu there?
They may not have even logged in yet.
It's very
Maybe they got to go to our website to get that form.
Yeah, you went pretty quick there. I was going to talk you through it. So when you're logged into CalPads, the left-hand navigation, you want to expand the help and then click on service requests, and that'll open up a new window, and it should pre-populate with your name.
And if you can't log into CalPads yet, you can go to our website or you can send an email.
All right. So we're going to move on to Javier, Q1. I have a revision in review status for end of year 4 with 0 errors, however, no PSTS results. After uploading PSTS, a SPED 438E4 appeared in the most recent revisions. In case we are not able to address the error by July 28th, could we certify without PSTS on our current in review revision and address the new error during the amendment window?
Yes, that is a strategy.
Absolutely.
We would prefer you get it all done by the 28th, but that is a strategy, knowing that what you certify in July is not accurate and that you have to do additional work.
Jenny, Q1. I had to disapprove a cert first thing this morning and submitted SPED and SSRV files. I have not seen any revision CDD run as of yet. Will that automatically happen, or is there something else I need to do? This is the first time I've disapproved, so just want to verify. Since you submitted the SPED and SSRV files, assuming that they posted, then that'll automatically trigger a new revision for you. So by tomorrow morning, you should see a new revision. Oh, there's responses, a lot of them. So, okay. In the response, Angela posted a link to a quick video that we have on revisions and how to switch over from revised uncertified.
Alex's most watched video. And it's a quick one too. It's a little over 4 minutes. So it's a good refresher if you've forgotten how to do that.
Next one is Mary Masters, Q1. With independent study teachers needing the appropriate credential for all subjects, but if they do not have a CTE credential for the particular subject, can the course be tagged as CTE, and can it be tagged as highly qualified CTE? And if not highly qualified, will it show up as a CTE course completed in CCI? The course can be tagged as a CTE course in the sense that, right, you're using that 7000 to 899 state course code. I believe that you cannot tag it as highly qualified unless the teacher has the appropriate credentials for CTE. And in terms of will it show up as a CTE course completed for CCI, yes. Students can count as completers even if the teachers are not credentialed as CTE, with credentialing, CTE credentials. That's separate. So students can be tagged as completers. The course can have the CTE state course code. It's just that you can't say that it's a highly qualified CTE course. Teresa from Pluma's Unified Q1. I currently have 6 CERT 170 warnings. I had previously noted that there was an active defect 6601, end of year 4, invalid CERT 170 warning on SEE schools. I do not see it on the active defect list, but might be just missing it. Just trying to figure out if the warnings are valid. By the way, thank you so much for these weekly meetings. They are very helpful. Awesome. CERT 170.
Defect 6601.
Yeah,
It's
so
not listed as active though, right?
it's not. It's closed, so that is no longer. So Kyron, if you make a note to clean that up from the user manual. Is he on today?
Should be.
Okay.
So wait. So she still is getting the warnings though. So
yeah. I wonder though if they're from teachers, sorry, from schools that you're not expecting PSTS data for. For example, the K-8, remember there was like the elementary, some schools were still triggering that warning, even though you're not expecting data because they don't have high schoolers.
And I think if you use that error and look up those schools, you'll know whether or not they had a 12th grader. And if they didn't have grade 12, then you're not going to be expected to have that. That's why it's a warning.
However, if you're getting the warning for a school that you did submit PSTS data for, then I think we need a ticket so that we can double check. There may be a new bug there. I think we got everyone's Q1.
Brandy is trying to get on. If we could unmute her, Marshall.
In the meantime,
I'm not seeing her in the list.
Yeah, I was looking.
She's texting us.
Is she CalPADS guest?
That's what I was asking. I did ask if it was Cal. There's 2 that was there. I asked. Maybe she is CalPADS. Let me check.
Brandy is CalPADS.
That's it. She says, yeah, that's her. She's masquerading today.
It just, it depends on which Zoom account it associates me with the last time I logged in. So, Amy's, I'm sorry.
Anyway, welcome. Glad you're here.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
I'm circling back to question 2s, and we're starting with Sue Ann at 302. Q2 says the CTE reports were broken when CTE reporting changed. What will be done to mitigate report 4.4 program participation being broken with the new TK grade change? Missed me? I missed you, Sue Ann. Report 4.4. I don't know off the top of my head which report that is.
I don't even know we have 4.x reports.
End of year 2, she says.
They're 5.x. Was that back in? Oh,
4.4 is the staff profile for fall 2.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, maybe we got the wrong number
It
then.
says end of year 2. Maybe it's 5.2.
She wrote EOI2 program participation.
Which report number, Sue-Ann? I have that as well. Number dyslexia.
There's 1, 2, 3, and that's it, right? It's bare minimum.
She's looking. But there's, okay, so the question was, what are we going to do for X report being broken with the new TK grade change?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of changes to make to include that grade level or have it defaulted. What is done to mitigate that? Better testing is all I can say. Early testing.
But, you know, for end of year, we wouldn't expect the reports to have changed because the TK grade level is coming for next school year.
23-24, correct. So this current end of year, it's not going to be impacting you. She's thinking ahead, I think.
Ah.
I mean, and I think it's going to impact more than EOI2. It's impacting a whole lot of reports, for fall 1. And that's the first thing that we'll be dealing with is the fall 1 impact of TK, grade TK.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to Susan. Question 2 at 307 says, I'm still confused with the new language codes. Do I need to change all the language codes in my SIS before I start submitting fall 1 files? The Flash talked about tactics, I guess, that you could use, but the new language code sets won't go into effect until the rollover in mid-September. And so I think it's more of a talk to your vendor about what they recommend for when they're going to have those codes available to you in the SIS. And if they do now, when they're going to start pulling in the new codes for you.
And probably the biggest impact is on codes that you used to label as other, because there wasn't an existing code for that. And now there may be an actual code, so you don't have to use the other. And I think this Flash kind of says, you know, start there, if anywhere, of what you need to change. Is take a look at the students that you've been flagging as other and see if you one of the new codes better satisfy their language. So we don't expect all students to get updated. I think the vendor was going to handle that for the existing codes. That's why you need to talk to them what the plan is. Sorry.
Okay. We're going to move on to Q2 from Jerry. That says, I wanted to get clarification on the upcoming end of year deadline. There was a letter that indicated that SELPAs were strongly encouraged to approve the end of year 3 and 4 submissions by July 28th, but not required. Is that the case, or does end of year 3 and 4 need SELPA approval by July 28th? And I think Martha answered it earlier, right?
Yes, I did. And I don't know, Brandy, if you want to say anything more about strongly encourage SELPA approval.
Yeah, I mean, we do strongly encourage SELPA approval, but we also recognize that sometimes it's not going to be feasible, particularly if your SELPA staff vacation, which I'm hearing a lot of lately. So there isn't any, it's nothing punitive if you don't get to SELPA approval. But the reason we recommend that you get to that level is because it means if you do have to make amendments, you're in really good shape going into the amendment window.
And I would also add, though, with the shortening of the timeline to get the dashboard put out, end of year is going to have shorter timelines. And so if the CELPA is struggling to do their approval by July, that's a heads up going forward. It's going to get harder and harder, and they need to rethink their practices so that they can hit a July deadline. But nothing punitive is going to happen if they don't make it this time. It could impact you down the road if you're always shooting for the end of August, because we won't have that luxury in the future.
Going down to question 2 from Mary Masters. Is there a validation for courses coded with 7000 through 8999 CTE that they must have the CTE provider coded and the high quality coded as either yes or no? I do know that there is a validation. Which one? I don't know.
It's the provider code. I know for sure that one.
Mhm.
The CTE provider. I want to say that there's both.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think you have to tell us whether or not it's a high quality CTE course. Yeah, there should be a validation for both of those.
Yeah.
It does say in the CFS if it's populated with one of those course cases is a required field.
Both of those fields are?
Yeah.
CTE
CTE course provider code.
The quality CTE course indicator. I'm not sure. Can you look, Gary?
Or the validation?
No, the high quality CTE course.
Oh, high quality.
Yeah, that indicator. I'm pretty sure if it's
Yeah.
There we go.
Both of those.
I think if you scroll a little bit to the right, I think they have the, there you go. So those are the validations. One of those is the one, Mary. All right, moving on, Yolanda, Q1. Looking for a report to show our socioeconomically disadvantaged. I pulled end of year 8.1 report. Is this the best report or should pull another report? I think that, I can't think of another one that would be better.
Well, if they're looking for census data, doesn't 1.1 show SED?
I think you're right. So I guess it just depends, Yolanda, on the scope of your students. Do you want everyone for the entire academic year? In which case, 8.1 is the one that we would probably point you to.
I would point out there's an 8.1 for regular, and then there's an 8.1 specific to EOI3. So just be aware of that.
And then if you wanted just your students that were on census day, then you would pull the fall 1 report version of it. Okay. Q1 from Sylvia. We keep seeing SENR 439E4. When we look at the students, they are first time in 12th grade. All right, this one is a popular one. And this report, or sorry, this error is saying that the adult age students with disabilities and transitions field is required for this record. I think what I've seen in a lot of tickets is that when people read this, they think, oh, okay, I need to set it to yes then. But what this means is that it can't be blank. So you have to say yes or no. And what's tricky about this one is that that specific field can only be yes if the student is in year 2 or above of their 12th grade year, right? So for your example, you say that your student is in 12th grade for the first time. So that means that you have to select no. Otherwise, you trigger a different error. But this is just looking at students who are in 12th grade, who have an active IEP, and who are at least 17 years old. And if they fit that criteria, then you have to populate that field. But it can be no, or it should be no, if it's their first year in 12th grade. Oh, also, this field is in the enrollment record. A lot of people think that because it's an end of year 4, it's a SPED record, but it lives in the SCNR file. All right, Dominic from Fresno, COE, SELPA vacation. What even is that? Angela's talking to Richard. So Anne, Q3. This one might be confusing, but here goes. Which is correct for reporting ADEL, I say ADEL, Flash 191 or online documentation? The wording on this differs from the Flash to the online documentation. We have to pull it up. $191. I guess which part specifically? Oh, and then, okay, so it says that she can submit this as a ticket. I think so, because then we can look at both. And if we need to update the user manual, we can do that. Charter students only in Flash. Oh, no, this is for anybody. I guess, oh, because the second.
Yeah, it's because the reason this is saying this is because typically we don't see kids over the age or 22 and older enrolled in a California public school unless they're enrolled at specific charters. Now, having said that, there are some rare, I'm assuming, cases where there are students that old enrolled in regular public schools that are not charter schools. That's really, really, really rare, though. Typically, we only see students that old being reported as English learners when they're going to these charters that have federal partnerships, right, which allow them to serve students of any age, essentially. But that's why it's referring to those charters. But it would be interesting, Sue Ann, what is your specific scenario? Is it a kid that like, do you have a 23 or 24-year-old kid enrolled in a regular school? Yeah, I mean, it's really rare because honestly, compulsory ed law basically says there is no age restriction, right? So there's no age restriction on how old a student has to be enrolled in, like, say, just a regular high school. They can be enrolled there as long as they're meeting the instructional day requirements and they're enrolled for that 180 days during the school year. If they've got enrollment and they're meeting the instructional day requirements, then a district, if they elect to, can have a person of any age enrolled there. So there is no age restriction. Typically that doesn't happen. They'll send them to an adult school. But we very often in CalPads see very, very much older students. Like, I think one instance just a few years back, we saw someone that was 80 years old that was enrolled in one of these charter schools in the Los Angeles area. So in those cases, they were reporting them as English learners before we had the code ADEL available. So I hope that helps.
Moving on to Heather Defeed, Q1. So to follow up on Martha's comment about shortened timelines for end of year, is July official for 2024? This would impact staffing FTE so that staff are employed over the summer, which is something that LEAs typically struggle with. If this is the case, please do some official notice so we can share with LEAs to start addressing staffing.
It's not official. And we have a long ways to go before we can make the deadline in July, because we have a standing business rule that allows graduates up through August 15th. But we're trying to have LEAs and SELPA start thinking about getting the work done in a shorter timeline. And so that's where I was coming from. And we definitely have been hearing from folks about the impact of the shorter timelines, and we will definitely give you well advanced notice so that you can work on those FTEs and notice to everybody and adjust. But we're getting the word out now to start thinking about that. And this has to do with the trailer bill language that came out, that the dashboard has to be each year it must be published earlier and earlier. And in order for that to be accomplished by the Department of Ed, it squeezes them to keep end of year open beyond, August at it. And that's why there's definitely no extensions past August. So we're trying to get people to change practices so that they can get done in a more timely manner. So hopefully I didn't scare you guys all, but just we're working towards the shorter timelines.
Moving on to Eric, Q1. Can you please remind me how to correctly report end of year 3 incidents? We have a student who hit another student, then the second student retaliated and hit back that student. Do we have to create 2 incidents? Because each student was the victim and also the offender. If it is only 1 incident, is there a way that we can assign both roles to each student? This is what I recommended, but I need to make sure that I'm correct. This type of incident, there is no victim and both are offenders. So for purposes of CALPADS, we don't collect victim or offender roles. That I think is just the civil rights data collection collects that information. I would say that this is just 1 incident where both were fighting. I don't know if.
Yes, I agree. 1 incident, and then you can report specific student offenses for each specific student within the incident.
All right. Sylvia has a follow-up, says, but it will be yes only if repeating 12th grade. And I think this is about the adult age students with disabilities in transition field. So it doesn't have to be yes. If the student is repeating 12th grade, but they're not enrolled solely for transition services, and that would still be a no, right? It's only if the student is only enrolled for transition services and no longer pursuing a high school diploma. That's when that would be a yes. Sue Ann says, I live in an SCNR. We all do. Jerry, Q3, quick question. The student met all UC CSU requirements indicator column is in the SCNR file, but the 1-year graduate and completer counts as part of end of year 3 and needs SELPA approval. Is that correct? In order to fix this during the amendment window, we would need SELPA approval to fix student counts for meeting the UC CSU requirement, right? That is correct. So even though end of year, the 1-year grads and completers is in end of year 3, it is still pulling from SCNR. I feel like every report, no matter what submission, pulls from SCNR. But yes, if you need it to disapprove because you need it to correct UC CSU requirements, it would still require the SELPA approval because it's all of end of year 3, right?
And end of year 3 needs SELPA approval for the discipline and restraints and seclusion reports.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all or nothing. Sorry.
Let's see, Claudia from Hawthorne, Q1. As long as the CDD run completion date time ends a few minutes later than the revision create date, getting fresh reports takes 2 days. will this be fixed?
I think, Claudia, we have to monitor this and see if it's consistently taking that long. So send us a ticket if you're experiencing that on a regular basis. Sometimes it could have been a slow performing DD that got in the way. And so it's hard for us to know at this time, but we'd like to monitor it. So do send us a ticket.
Eric has a Q2, says, for our college credit courses, in order to identify our high school as dual enrollment, we have to have the courses, grades, attendance, and transcripts in our SIS. If our school is putting the course and credit as a transfer credit under the college school in the student's transcripts, would this not work? This college professor is only giving a final grade to our registrar, and they are not taking attendance in our SIS. It looks like the school will not have any information in the school dashboard, correct?
Eric, what SIS do you use? Yeah.
School.
So Power School requires a section record. They require that you create a section for the college credit courses. And Power School doesn't automatically pull something from transcript.
Right. I think I got everyone's questions. If I missed somebody, please let me know. Oh, Eric responded, says, and then the student needs to be enrolled in STAS, right? Not necessarily. A student can have a college course and not have a STAS corresponding to that college. Is that what you mean? Like the STAS would be for the regular, the rest of their school year at their comprehensive high school in their classes. Mary has a comment, says, I wish Aries would pull from transcript for our independent study courses like they do for the college courses. This would make my year. Okay. Sue Ann says, I'm taking my first vacation in 3 years next month. I may come back. Where are you going, Sue Ann? Do you want to share?
Carmel.
Oh, Carmel.
Okay.
Yolanda wants to go. Derek has a question too. Has there been any discussion about bringing back the request snapshot button? The snapshot turnaround times are 24 hours or 24 plus hours. Anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, we keep discussing it. And that's why earlier I mentioned for those that do, was it Claudia that commented on that? To send a ticket so we can kind of observe and monitor what her experience was. I think it was Claudia. Yeah.
Martha, I would add that we had a pretty in-depth conversation about it just recently, and like last week. And
yes,
seems like that is the direction that the team wants to go. So we didn't want to introduce anything during end of year. So a fall one would be the soonest if we do go that route.
And this has to do with the complication of adding the CDDs and the revisions that they're just getting out of sync. And so how best to get them back in a line? What would be some options?
Eric is responding to Sue Ann, says, don't do it. I was in Italy for 3 weeks. Now I have to pay the price. Heather, question 2. Is there any issue with parent involvement not showing up on 16.3? am seeing it on student record and not showing up on 16.3. I haven't come across that one yet, Heather. But if you want to put in a ticket and put attention Alex on it and give me an SSID, I can look into it. Yeah. Yolanda says, I vote for the button. And Vanessa has a Q1, says, we have a students with disabilities enrolled in an adult school. We, being the district of residence, because they are SPED students, we currently send up their enrollment as our district level, so our SPED department can upload transactions for the student. I found out that the adult school uses PowerSchool. Should they be sending up the enrollment record for the SPED student?
No. Because we don't, as long as they're on an IEP, they need to be enrolled either at the district level or at a K-12 school.
And Gary's pointing you to our reporting data for students with disabilities. It's a list of scenarios and it's sorted by grade level, super handy tool. Recommend that you take a look at that. If you're ever wondering, should I be reporting this or should someone else? And that can be found under Flash 161, or you can also search for it in our user manual. All right, everybody, I think we got through everything. 5 minutes to spare. Oh, John, Q1. Why are we required to send attendance for preschool? I don't believe that we're asking for SAS.
If you're talking about TK, you are, but not pre-K.
Oh.
Yeah. You're not required to do attendance for pre-K.
Well, we appreciate all your hard work, everybody. So thank you for joining us. And I'm really glad that this is helpful. Alex, not Manriquez, that's a question too. Says, why did I label this a Q2 when this is my first question? Okay, fell for that one. Okay, we're going to end it there. Thanks, everybody. And hope everyone is on track for next Friday.